Hi, I'm Abby Bowman, and this is my presentation over the science of reading and instruction strategies for struggling readers. So, what is the science of reading? Well, the science of reading shows that written language is code. Written language is made up of certain combinations of letters, and these combinations represent certain sounds. This is important in early literacy development because young kids can be taught how to crack the codes to ensure that these kids are learning how to read words. Systematic phonics is a type of instruction that teaches kids how to break these codes and learn how to read words. Connecting letters and reading words is not something children automatically know how to do. And explicit phonics instruction especially helps children who struggle to read. The science of reading contains 5 components: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, and I'll talk more about those later on. Response to intervention. So what exactly is this? Well, response to intervention is a framework that ensures all students in kindergarten classes are reading at grade level by 3rd grade at the latest. This has a multi-tier model, which is part of the response to intervention that enables schools to provide students with the support that assessments indicate that they need. All students have a varying need of support when learning to read. And so there are 3 tiers to this model. The first tier is basically the general classroom curriculum. Tier 2 includes small group tutoring support for those who may need it. And Tier 3 contains a more intensive reading program. Tier 1 is for those students who learn new material as fast as the teacher teaches it. Tier 2 includes students who need added practice before they learn it. Tier 3 includes students who need very calculated teaching that slowly goes from easier skills to more difficult skills. The multi-tier model helps to ensure that there are many different levels of support to help students get to grade level or to challenge students who may have advanced reading skills. So what are the 5 essentials of reading instruction? Well, the first one is phonemic awareness, which is the ability to hear and manipulate the smallest units of sound in spoken language. Then we have phonics, which is the teaching strategy used to teach the relationships between written letters and the speed sounds or phonemes. The next one is fluency, the ability to read text accurately, quickly, and with expression is what fluency is. Then we have vocabulary. Students often need instruction in key vocabulary to make sense of what they are reading. And lastly, we have comprehension, which is the active process of obtaining meaning from written text. So now we have phonemic awareness. In beginning reading programs, segmenting and blending is a common phonemic awareness skill used in beginning reading programs. Segmenting is the ability to break apart words in their individual phonemes or sounds. So for example, a student who can segment says t, a, k when they say the word tack. Segmenting helps students strategically go after words they will be reading in text and break words into phonemes when spelling. Blending is the ability to say a spoken word when its individual phonemes are said slowly. So for instance, a student who can blend can say the word tack after the teacher slowly says the individual sounds t, a, k. Blending helps students start to read unfamiliar text by combing single sounds into new words. Some essential segmenting and blending skills to teach students are segmenting first sound, blending onset rhyme, segmenting onset rhyme, blending individual sounds, and segmenting individual sounds. So a way to assess this method is the DIBELS Next First Sound Fluency Assessment, which is an assessment that can monitor if students are able to identify the first sound in words. The next one is the DIBLS Next PSF assessment, which works with segmenting individual phonemes. Then we have progress monitoring assessments, which help teachers determine which students are making adequate progress learning how to segment and blend. And we also have informal assessments that can be used to assess phonemic awareness. And this can be used for screening or progress monitoring as well to understand their students' skill level for blending individual phonemes into words. And then we also have diagnostic assessments. These can also be used to assess phonemic awareness, and the teachers can use these to plan more effective instruction. Lastly, we have some strategies to provide extra support for this element in tiers 2 and 3. Some strategies include conducting tier 2 interventions in small groups or one-on-one to provide extra practice before or after large group phonemic awareness instruction. Teach as effectively as possible in the smallest amount of time. Stretch out difficult sounds that students have difficulty hearing. Form groups containing between 1 and 3 students. You want them to be as small as you can. Some strategies to specifically help provide extra support for tier 3 include just a lot of decision making in regards to placement, and there are also many intensive and alternative reading programs for tier 3 as well that can help give students extra support. Now we have phonics. So these are some different instructional practices and strategies we can teach to our tier 1. Basically, it's identifying the most common sounds of individual letters in isolation. So you want to learn sounds first of each letter, then you move on to reading CVC words. Then we move on to teaching our students how to read CVC variant words. And then later on, they'll start to learn how to read one-syllable words and passages by sight. And then they will also work on spelling and writing what they have read. Some different methods to assess phonics are different screening assessments, the PALS letter sound sub-test, where students are shown 26 capital letters and asked to point to each one and say its sound. We also have the DIBELS Next assessment, which students are given a minute to name as many upper and lowercase letters of the alphabet as they can. And then we also have progress monitoring, which works on letter sound correspondence assessment, reading pseudo words, reading high frequency, regular, and exception words, and also we could also use diagnostic assessments as well. So some strategies to provide extra support for this element would be to, during tier 2 group sessions, practice with the same letter sound format that was also used during large group tier 1 instruction. Also, when the teacher provides multiple repetitions to practice a skill, such as identifying the sound associated with a C until it is mastered rather than moving on before the student is ready, helps prevent subsequent failure. So it doesn't matter what letter it is, but we need to practice the skill, such as identifying the sound to that certain letter multiple times until the student has it mastered. Teachers that fit in more practice at different times of the day can also help their students learn skills more quickly. Now we have fluency. So to help teach students to read passages accurately and fluently, the safer passage reading procedure can be used. This procedure is grouped homogeneously, and the text read is matched to each individual child based on their reading levels. Teachers keep talk simple and to the point when using safer, so students are also called on quickly and efficiently, and comprehension questions are also provided during this reading time. Also, there are many ways to teach oral reading fluency and expressive reading. So we have repeated reading, and there are taped readings, partner readings. Those are some things that our kids can work on to learn more fluency. To help build students' expressive reading, different strategies such as echo reading, chorale reading, and reading in chunks can help as well. Also, wide reading can be used, and that involves reading text only once, either silently or orally. And this can potentially expose students to a wider variety of reading genres and vocabulary. A specific method to assess fluency would be the oral reading fluency assessments. For instance, there's the DIBELS Next Oral Reading Assessment, which can be used for screening and monitoring students. And during this, a student reads a passage aloud, and the teacher marks a scorecard according to errors and words that were skipped. Different strategies to provide extra support for this element would be teachers use extra moments during the day to develop fluency by providing extra decodable reading to students in Tier 2, for instance. By second grade, Tier 2 intervention sessions shift their focus almost exclusively to developing fluency by providing an opportunity for rereading stories in the curriculum. So scheduling a daily small reading group at a time of day when other students are working independently or silently reading can help provide those students in tiers 2 and 3 with extra support. Now we have vocabulary. Some different instructional practices that can be used are modeling, using synonyms, using definitions, using text talks, semantic maps, and using keywords, and those will help teach direct instruction of vocabulary. Teaching students to learn new vocab independently. This is where we will teach them using context, using morphemic analysis, and using the dictionary. Different methods to assess this would be standardized vocab tests, which aren't used a whole lot and they're not very reliable sometimes, but other ways are asking definitions to assess vocab knowledge. Pictures can be used as a prompt to provide any alternative method to assess knowledge of vocab words. True and false multiple choice questions when assessing are also very good methods to use. So for some strategies, there are repeated exposure of new words to provide that extra support. Different practice activities for new words for tiers 2 and 3 could be response cards, class-wide peer tutoring, a game called Never Too Many Questions, and different games that use word associations. Other practice activities for review words could be fill-in-the-blank stories, vocabulary word as themes, and using word journals to provide that extra support. And lastly, we have comprehension. So some strategies that could be used to teach this element to my students are explicit instructions, asking lots of questions, calibrate wait time before asking questions, scaffolding incorrect answers and no responses, model comprehension skills through think alouds, using graphic organizers with new text, teach comprehension before, during, and after reading the text, and going over different comprehension strategies such as summarizing, main ideas and details, self-questionings, and making inferences. Different ways to assess this element would be screening and progress monitoring once again, the cloze assessment and the maze assessment, and diagnostic assessment, and also many of the fluency assessments can be used to screen for comprehension as well. There are different strategies such as the language program and the text talk programs for students in kindergarten to third grade, and other accommodations such as graphic organizers during teacher-directed instruction, and pairing verbal instruction with visuals will definitely help add that extra support. Thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed digging deep and getting a better understanding of strategies that are used when teaching the 5 essentials of reading instructions, methods on assessing the essentials, and identifying strategies to provide support in all the tiers of readers. So thank you for listening.